Welcome to 9 Bob Note with Paul Isles-Rush and Ken Moss.
Hello everybody and welcome to 9 Bob Note. I am Paul.
And I'm Ken.
And we don't need a massive introduction. We are at that time of year, plus several months, when it's over to you, Ken, because you get to pick your birthday honours for 2024.
Yeah, just a few months late. My birthday's in February. It's nearly time for the next one.
Yeah.
I had a bit of trouble this year picking a notable gay because there was no one that leapt to mind. And then it was only recently I thought, it's so obvious and it's been so peppered throughout my life. I can't believe I haven't thought of him before. Alan Bennett. The renowned Yorkshire playwright Alan Bennett. Alan Bennett at the time of recording is 90 years old, Yorkshire playwright, famous for lots of things, won loads of awards for his writing. He just cannot be stopped. He's an unstoppable writing machine. I know him best for his Talking Heads monologues.
Yes.
There are a couple of series of those, and I found on iPlayer recently, they've remade them.
I did see that. I didn't realise they'd come out. But, yeah.
Are you familiar with the Talking Heads?
I think we did them in A-level English.
Right. They were filmed before they were done on the radio, which is an unusual way around of doing it. For those of you who don't know, the Talking Heads was a series of monologues with really, really well-known actors and actresses, mainly actresses, but people like Thora Hird, Penelope Wilton.
Patricia Routledge.
Patricia Routledge did a couple. Thora Hird did a couple. And Eileen Atkins, she did one. Julie Walters, she did a couple. So these were big names even at the time. And now, of course, they're even bigger. But they were just really poignant monologues that started seemingly innocently, like very working class, very northern themed. And then as it unpeels, you realise that there's a much deeper and largely miserable story underneath. I'm not painting a very good picture of these things, but it's one of the most beautiful bits or series of writings that I've ever come across. And it's so simply done. You'd think that it'd be very, very boring watching a TV programme of someone sat in an armchair.
Yeah, for half an hour. Yeah.
But it works beautifully and it's a very skillful art. It's something that not many people can do or indeed do. You don't really hear about monologues. I think the last one I remember was the vagina monologues, which I don't actually know anything about. But it was a sellout West End tour. But I mean, he's done other things as well. He won awards for The Madness of King George III. That was in the 90s. It was a film with Nigel Hawthorne.
I did not know he that.
And one of the most recent things is The Lady in the Van.
Yeah.
Oh, with another Dame Maggie Smith. We should raise a glass to Maggie.
To Maggie.
Oh, the Dowager Countess. That was one of the rare celebrity deaths that really got me. Oh my, yeah, that really hurt.
Yeah, and it was one of those where, I mean, she was 89.
Yeah.
And so when people get to that age, it's not always unexpected, but then it's not like she retired or anything. She was still going. And yeah, it was very, very sad.
But you do have a tendency to pickle people in amber. Like Alan Bennett's 90.
Yeah.
He's not a spring chicken, but you just preserve these people in this time bubble of when you've seen them on something and that's the age they are.
Yes.
Well, that was the last time I saw them. That's how they must look now. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, Maggie Smith, when did she last record? She was in the last Downton Abbey movie.
Yeah.
But she certainly didn't look in her mid to late 80s when she filmed it. That was a couple of years ago. So to then suddenly find, well, the Dowager Countess, she's just always had an older face.
Yeah.
Even in her younger years. I was, again, coming back to Talking Heads, I've just introduced Dawn to these and we've watched them all very recently, the originals. Maggie Smith in it, she was the same age as we are now.
Yeah.
And she could easily have passed for late 60s. It's just actors and actresses of a generation. But Alan Bennett, however well connected he's been, he's always been involved with or collaborated with really great, I would say largely actresses rather than actors.
Yeah, he writes very well. Well, the Lady in the Van is a really good example. He writes very well for strong women parts, doesn't he? No nonsense women, but also, particularly with the Talking Heads, women with a story, and like you said, not necessarily a particularly happy story. They've all got a lot of sadness and trauma.
Well, just going through his biography on the Oracle, he was born on the 9th of May 1934 in Armley in Leeds, younger son of a butcher. He was in the same Church of England school in the same class as Barbara Taylor Bradford. Another great writer, literary giant. And he started his writing career with Dudley Moore, Jonathan Miller and Peter Cook at the Edinburgh Festival. It was a review show. Yeah, and then just started writing stage plays after that. I mean, that was in the good old days when you could just write to a producer at the BBC and, this is a play, what I wrote. Do you like it? I think it's a little different in these days. But yeah, just reading through this great list of stuff. By the early 80s, Bennett wrote the play Enjoy in 1980. I've never heard of that, I'll be honest. It barely scraped a run of 7 weeks at the Vaudeville Theatre in spite of a stellar cast of Joan Plowright, Colin Blakely, Susan Littler, Liz Smith, Joan Hickson, crikey. New production in 2008, Alison Steadman, David Troughton. And then we come on to The Lady in the Van. He wrote this based on his experiences with an eccentric woman called Miss Shepherd who lived on Bennett's driveway in a series of dilapidated vans for more than 15 years. And you just look at this thing and think his writing is obviously very deeply steeped in the north of England. But also his own experiences. And you think every single thing that he's written, there's an element of autobiography in this. The Lady in the Van is so mental. Somebody living on your drive for 15 years. You don't do anything about it. It's just mental. But I just love the fact that his plays are so simple and yet poignant, I think is the word. Yeah. I don't want this to sound overly wanky and, they find the high art of this, right? But every now and again you get a writer that comes along and their writing will stand out a country mile. I mean, I'll cite on a Doctor Who level, people like Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat. There's just a fizz to their dialogue and the way that they characterise people, and there's a bounce to it. There's something to grip you.
Yeah.
And you always know if there's a TV play on, or say a one-man or one-woman show, you know that they will have written it really well, that you're not just going to turn up and it's going to be comedy. It's going to be comedy. And well crafted. I'll cite somebody like Al Murray. Al Murray's stage show, it's not for everybody. He's a very well-educated man. Yeah. But he puts on this persona of the thuggish pub landlord. Every show is crafted from beginning to end. It goes on a journey. It's like Eddie Izzard's early stuff. He led you on a journey. The characters will be introduced and peppered throughout the stand-up, and then they'd all come together in some sort of scene at the end. It had all been building to an end scene.
Yeah, some giant punchline.
And it was... I just like that sort of clever writing. So, do you have anybody? I mean, I know Alan Bennett's probably not quite as on your radar as he has been on mine, but is there anyone that stands out for you that you think, I know this is going to be good because that person's written it?
Possibly not. But like you say, there are names of people and you think, you're in safe hands with these, don't you? The example of Alan Bennett is a really good one because The Lady in the Van obviously came a long time after Talking Heads. But when you found out that he'd written it, even though it was like, what is this? What is this about? And it makes it even more funny that it's actually based on a true story. But nobody else could have written that and got away with it. And nobody else would have sent Maggie Smith the script and like here's a script. It's basically you're going to play this mad old woman who lives in a van on the driveway, and that's it. That's the script. Some of the lines she was given in that, you can imagine that. I can't remember his name who wrote Downton Abbey. Julian Fellows. When he was writing the lines for Maggie Smith's character in Downton Abbey, he had those characters in mind, didn't he? But also, I don't know if you saw it. I was just thinking, it must have been 7 years ago. So the BBC ran a season of programmes in 2017.
Oh, yes. We've reached that stage. That was only yesterday, wasn't it? 20 years ago. Yeah, it was in 1984, mate. Yeah.
In 2017, to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the decriminalisation of the gays. And the series, I think it was called Gay Britannia, and there was loads of programmes. One of them was that the man in the orange shirt.
Yes.
Not the man in the iron mask. the man in the orange shirt. Which,
the man in the iron shirt. It was
the man in the ironed shirt.
There's a play in this, right?
Alan, get Alan on the phone.
I was stood at the crease the other day in the kitchen with the iron, not at the... This stuff writes itself.
But as part of that series, there was a series of monologues, and I can't remember what they were. It might be called Queers or something like that, but it was 6, and they were all half-hour monologues about fictional gay people, and they had sort of current actors in them. But that was obviously very influenced by Talking Heads and by Alan Bennett. So
Queers. It was
Queers,
called.
yeah.
Yes.
I think Russell Tovey did one,
Episode 1 of 8, The Man on the Platform. In the first of 8 short monologues written in response to the 50th anniversary of the Sexual Offences Act, a young man returning from the trenches of the First World War recollects a love that dared not speak its name. I'm just trying to see if there's any other episodes. See all episodes from Queers. Bit rude. Something Borrowed, and that's Alan Cumming. Steve prepares his wedding speech, but now the big day is here. What has been won? The Perfect Gentleman? I don't know who that is. Bobby is a swaggering man about town, but Bobby has a secret. Safest spot in town. As the Blitz hits London, Frederick is grateful he survived an unlikely place of refuge. Oi, oi. I miss the war. There's a running theme here, isn't there?
Yeah.
Maybe the Sexual Offences Act won't revolutionise everything as far as Jackie's concerned. Missing Alice? Alice and her husband share a secret, but then the Wolfenden Report is published. More anger. That's Russell Tovey. With AIDS hitting the headlines, a new part looks like a game changer for actor Phil. A Grand Day Out. In 1994, 17-year-old Andrew comes to London for the first time with unexpected results.
Who was in that one?
That one, Fionn Whitehead.
Okay. I don't know.
No, I don't. I've just been looking. They're not available on iPlayer. I do hate that when things disappear from iPlayer. Just leave them up. Yeah, but rewatching Talking Heads has sort of revitalised my passion for monologues. I'm going to seek some out. I mean, coming on to Alan Bennett's personal life, it always feels like a bit like rooting through somebody else's dirty linen when I read this bit. But Bennett lived for 40 years on Gloucester Crescent in Camden Town.
Wow.
And in 2006, Hughes moved a few minutes' walk away to Primrose Hill with his partner Rupert Thomas, the former editor of the World of Interiors magazine. Bennett also had a long-term relationship with his former housekeeper, Anne Davis, until her death in 2009. That sounds like there's a bit of a crossover there. Declined a CBE, declined a knighthood. Wow. In September 2005, Bennett revealed that in 1997 he'd undergone treatment for colorectal cancer and described the illness as a bore. His chances of survival were given as being much less than 50%, and surgeons told him they removed a rock bun-sized tumour. He began Untold Stories, published in 2005, that is on my shelf upstairs unread, thinking it would be published posthumously, but his cancer then went into remission. Bennett of himself says, "I'm homosexual," but mentions flings with women. Previously, Bennett had referred to questions about his sexuality as like asking a man who has just crawled across the Sahara Desert to choose between Perrier or Malvern mineral water. In September 2015, Bennett endorsed Jeremy Corbyn's campaign in the Labour Party leadership election. "I approve of him, if only because it brings Labour back to what they ought to be thinking about." So there we go, and he's the last surviving member of the original Beyond the Fringe quartet following the death of Jonathan Miller in 2019.
Wow.
So, yeah, a very interesting man. And, the bibliography and the references. Because he was on, I don't know if you ever saw him, they also had a spitting image puppet of him.
I do remember this, yeah.
Where he lived with Thora Hird. I may have made passing reference to the fact that Dead Ringers on Radio 4, they used to have him doing his own monologues with Mr. Pettifer from number 42 and Peter Sallis, who just spilt crumbs on the antimacassar. So yes, that is my pick for this year. I shall raise a glass to Alan Bennett.
What a lovely pick, yes, to Alan Bennett. Cheers.
Yes, Queen! Yes, Queen! Yes, Queen!
Well, time's ticking away. It's almost time to pick your next birthday. So time to hit the books.
Better get rooting through the gaze, so to speak.
Yeah, as only Alan Bennett could. Well, on that note, we'll be back very soon with more fun and games.
Yes, more fun and gaze.
Yes, more fun and gaze. Yeah, there's the catchphrase we've been looking for.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Nine Bob Note featured Paul Isles-Rush and Ken Moss. Title music was by Mark Scheiman, and the program was produced by Maverick Productions. For more information, please visit maverickproductionsuk.blogspot.com or find us on social media.